I started dating again at the age of 65, not because I was longing for a passionate romance, and not because my life felt unbearably empty. I had lived 3 years after my wife passed away. Still made my own coffee every morning. Still walked around the lake like I always did. Still changed the light bulbs and patched the roof after storms. Everything was fine, if fine means so quiet that sometimes I forgot what my own laughter used to sound like. My daughter was the first to bring it up. "Dad, maybe try a dating app for seniors." Not for anything serious, just someone to talk to in the evenings. I smiled, thinking how easy it was for young people to say things like that. But then one afternoon, as I watched the orchid on my windowsill bloom for the first time after a long winter, I suddenly felt like I wanted someone to see it with me. Not to do anything in particular, just to sit next to me and say, "That's beautiful, isn't it?" So I began. I didn't expect that the world of dating after 60 would feel like a maze. It seems safe, simple even, but each turn hides something you didn't see coming. When you're young, you can have your heart broken, stay up all night crying, and still show up to work the next morning. Life goes on. But after 60, the wrong relationship can cost you more than just tears. It can keep you up for weeks, raise your blood pressure, worry your children, and shatter the trust it took you decades to rebuild. I'm not sharing this to scare anyone away from love. On the contrary, I believe late-life love is a beautiful thing. It's not rushed, not demanding, and doesn't require you to be perfect in each other's eyes. But it does require clarity, because not every woman who enters your life brings light. Some come with a suitcase full of pain, some come with hidden agendas, and some just aren't meant to walk the rest of the road with you. I've met all three kinds, 3 very different women, each leaving me with a lesson. A lesson not only about protecting my heart, but also my peace, my finances, and my health, at an age where truly I should be resting. If you're starting a similar journey, maybe my story will help you avoid a few wrong turns along the way. Part 1, the one who pulls you into the storm. The first woman I met was named Serena. I still remember the first time I saw her. It was a Saturday afternoon in a landscape painting class for retirees. She arrived 10 minutes late wearing a deep red silk robe. Her hair loosely pinned up, her eyes full of fire. She apologized to the instructor in a husky, alluring voice, then sat down next to me as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "I like painting things that are falling apart," she said as she opened her box of paints, "because they're beautiful in a very honest way." I didn't know if it was a joke, a confession, or a warning. Serena reminded me that I once knew how to live boldly. She talked about jazz, about Paris in the 80s, about the ex-husband who left her for a younger artist. She spoke with laughter, with sighs, with something raw in her tone. And in all that contradiction, I found myself drawn in. The first few weeks with Serena were full of life. She would call me at midnight just to say how beautiful the rain looked. She took me to art galleries I had never heard of. She made dinner in a nightgown, poured wine, and told old stories with eyes that burned like flames. I felt young again, until one day I was late for a date, stuck in traffic. Serena was sitting in the cafe, not looking at me. When I apologized, she whispered, "You make me feel invisible." From that day on, things started to change. She got upset if I didn't reply to a message within 15 minutes. She cried because I didn't feel the loneliness in a painting. She went silent for 3 days because I ordered the wrong dish at lunch. Every time she got angry, I tried to understand. I thought I needed to be more thoughtful, more sensitive. But the more I tried, the more I felt trapped in a storm with no way out. I started losing sleep. My mind felt like a tightened string ready to snap at the slightest sound. One night, after a long argument, I sat in my car for 2 hours. My heart was pounding, sweat ran cold down my back. The next morning, my doctor told me to start monitoring my heart and blood pressure regularly. I don't blame Serena. I believe she too had suffered, been abandoned, and survived through sheer emotional intensity. But at this age, I no longer have the strength to be the anchor in someone else's storm. I walked away without anger, because I learned something: drama is not proof of deep love. Sometimes it's just a wound that hasn't healed. And a man over 60 deserves peace, not a life where each day feels like a test of endurance. Part 2, the one who couldn't let go. After Serena came Lillian. She entered my life so gently that I mistook her for a spring breeze. Not sudden, not intense. Just one Tuesday morning, while I was browsing old novels at the city library, she walked up and said, "I've read that one. The ending left me feeling empty for a whole week." I laughed. We talked about sad books about characters who never learned how to love each other at the right time. At the end, she wrote her phone number on the back of an old receipt. "I'm not good at making the first move," she said. "So if you don't text me first, we might lose each other." I texted her, And honestly, at first I thought I had met the right person. Lillian was gentle. She always asked if I had slept well, if I'd eaten, how I was feeling after my latest checkup. She remembered I liked my black tea without sugar, that I preferred quiet mornings, and that I stroked my beard when deep in thought. She made me feel seen, a feeling I hadn't had in a long time. But in time, her care became a rope that tied me down. She called while I was out walking. She texted when I hadn't answered her last call. She sent pictures of her meals with notes that read, "Wish you were sitting across from me." At first it felt sweet. But when the messages never stopped, when every word I said was picked apart, I started to feel drained. One weekend I told her I'd be at my son's house, playing with the grandkids. Lillian went silent for 2 days. When I called, she choked up. "I thought maybe you didn't need me anymore." I tried to comfort her. I tried to reassure her. I began skipping outings with friends because she didn't feel comfortable. I stopped writing in my journal because she said she could only feel secure if she knew all my thoughts. I gave up my personal space thinking, if she just needs a little more certainty, I can give her that. But it was never just a little. I slowly realized I wasn't myself anymore. Every tiny decision, where to go, what to do, who to see, had to be filtered through her sensitivity. That's not love. Love isn't being together 24 hours a day. It isn't the disappearance of boundaries. It isn't feeling guilty every time you want to be alone. I ended that relationship one morning when I caught myself sitting in the car, watching the minutes pass simply because I was afraid of coming home later than she expected. I left her a short message. "You did nothing wrong, but I need to breathe." It was the first time in months that my chest felt light again. Part 3, the one who asked with her eyes. Her name was Clarice. I met her at a fundraiser for the local nursing home, a small event held in the church hall with pastries, coffee, and a faint scent of lavender drifting in the air. She wore a charcoal gray wool coat. Her makeup carefully done, her smile gentle, but her eyes always seemed to look away. We started talking while waiting in line for tea. Clarice told me she had worked in finance and took early retirement after her husband died in a car accident. "He left me with a lot," she said softly, "but loneliness was the biggest part." I understood. I knew what loss looked like. We saw each other a few times. Clarice spoke gently with intelligence and grace. She always made me feel valued. She listened, placed her hand on my arm when I spoke about the past, looked at me with eyes that made me forget I was over 60. Not long after, she began sharing stories of small misfortunes. The old car that kept breaking down, the heater that stopped working, forcing her to sleep under 3 layers of blankets in winter. The dream of visiting Europe, before my knees can't handle the walking anymore. She never asked for anything. She just shared, with a sad tone, eyes cast down at her cup of tea, as if these burdens were hers alone to carry, and she didn't want anyone else to feel them. I started wanting to help. A bit of money to fix the car, a small birthday gift, a silk scarf from Italy she once said she liked, then some cash when she mentioned a short-term loan that didn't go through due to a paperwork issue. It all felt natural, no pressure, no asking. But I found myself being pulled in, not by a heart longing for love, but by eyes that knew just how to be sad at the right moment, how to tremble at just the right time. Then one day I told her I needed to watch my spending, especially with some health concerns that had come up after a checkup. Clarice didn't get angry. She just went quiet. 3 days later, she sent a short message. "I think we're wanting different things." And then she was gone. No thank you. No real goodbye. I stared at my phone feeling hollow, not because of the money, but because of what I hadn't seen sooner. Clarice wasn't a con artist. She was simply skillful. She knew how to make a man who had spent his life taking care of others willingly take on one more life to carry. I don't blame her. But after that, I learned to listen not just to words, but to the intention behind them. Because sometimes what hurts you isn't rejection. It's warmth used as a carefully laid trap. Dear friends, I didn't share those 3 stories to make you feel bitter, not to make you shut your heart live in suspicion, or believe that growing old means being friends only with silence. I shared them because I understand there's a kind of loneliness after 60 that's unlike anything we've ever known. It's not loud like youth, not intense like divorce or your first heartbreak. It's quiet, slow, and it eats away at you. You can live with it, yes, but there will be days when it sneaks up and makes you cry. When you see a couple holding hands in the park, or when you hear an old song that no one sings along to anymore. Love, even when it comes late, can still be life's gentlest gift. But that gift doesn't arrive when you close your eyes and hand over all your trust, your wallet, and your energy to the first person who shows up with sweet words. What I've learned is this wisdom doesn't kill love. It protects it from unnecessary wounds. So if you find yourself in front of a woman who makes your heart stir, let it stir. But also listen to your body. It knows when you're carrying too much stress. Pay attention to whether you're constantly apologizing, constantly proving yourself, constantly changing just to be accepted. Keep something just for you, a little space and account you don't share, a habit you don't have to explain. Because someone who truly loves, you won't ask you to trade your entire life for a relationship. They'll walk beside you, not over you. They'll listen without judging. They'll let you be part of their life, not as a backdrop, but as a companion. One morning not long ago, I sat on my porch sipping tea, looking out at the lake as still as glass. The sunlight was soft, the breeze carried the smell of fresh grass, and children's laughter floated in from far away. No one was sitting beside me at that moment, but I felt peaceful. And I realized love after 60 doesn't need to be a fairy tale. It just needs to be an honest conversation, a well-timed touch, a morning where you don't always have to wake up alone. If someone makes you feel that way, hold on to them. And if not, remember this: loneliness is sometimes easier than being stuck in the wrong relationship. You've come too far to live life on someone else's terms. Now more than ever, you have the right to choose peace and to step into love only when it makes your soul feel light.